Okay, following the new public governance as a structure of networks, we are going to study the theories explain new public governance. As you see in the tables, there are the theories such as social capital, non-governmental organization (NGO), and citizen participation to explain the new governance. The first, let's study the theory of social capital. I think everybody has heard about the social capital. What is social capital? Social capital is very important uh, to make economic prosperity. In the economics, there are three elements to produce good services. Three elements are C, L, S. What is C? C is capital. This is money. What is L? This is people, human. This means labor. And then the third element of good services, good economic activity, good economic prosperity, that is social capital. And social capital is kind of the invisible element that determine the economic success of particular societies. Therefore, the without the social capital, it's very difficult to achieve the economic goals, the economic success. And then the component of social capital is three. Trust. This is cognitive social capital. The network. This is the structural social capital. And then thirdly, the shared norms or reciprocity between the different actors. These are three elements of social capitals. And then scholars emphasize the power of social capital. Everybody heard about the Fukuyama, the Tomomi and Sayaka. You are from Japanese. Fukuyama is the very famous scholar. Have you heard about the Fukuyama? Fukuyama, wrote the very famous book, The Trust, and then Fukuyama emphasized the power of trust. To make economic success, economic prosperity, trust is very important. We also have learned, the power of trust. How? Why is it so important to overcome the market failure? Everybody remember how to overcome the transaction cost, right? To overcome the transaction cost, trust is very important. If we believe in each other, we can reduce the transaction cost and then facilitate the making transactions, right? Also, the Putnam emphasizes the power of social capital. Manuela, I don't know the Manuela will hear is hearing this online lectures because you are absent. But Putnam is the scholars in Italy, and then he analyzed the factors to economic success between northern and southern Italy. Compared to the southern Italy, northern Italy is more wealthy, more richer than the southern Italy. But they have the same ethnic background, same economic infrastructure, the same the government support. But the income in the northern Italy is much higher, $20,000 higher than southern Italy. And then, Vietnam discovered why, the northern Italy is richer than the southern Italy, because in the northern Italy the level of social capital is higher than that of social capital in the southern Italy. Only difference. And then he concluded that social capital plays a very important role in economic success. And then what is the effect of social capital? We can explain the effect of social capital from the three sides, administrative and economic and social side. Administrative side, the social capital is composed of the trust, and then the mutual trust. Social members voluntarily participate in the collaborative governance, especially new public governance, and then it can contribute to reduce the corruptions, and then promoting the transparency and cooperation. Also, from the economic side, as I said, just social capitals can contribute to reducing the transaction costs. If we transaction costs, the transaction reduce, right? Because of uncertainty. However, if we trust each other in the networks, we can believe in other partners, and then readily engaged in making transactions, and enhance social utilities, right? Also, from the social side, just social capitals contributed to reducing conflict by strengthening the bonds. There are so many conflicts. Think about the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Just there is a lack of trust between Ukraine people and Russian people, because historically they are very hostile, and then the Russian people don't believe in Ukraine people. Ukraine also don't believe in the Russian people, because they have been hostile historically. And then the it's kind of making very a tragic conflict by involving the war. Also, this is the ranking of social capital in Korea. Unhappily, the level of social capital is very low. And then just the level of social capital is the decreasing. I don't know, but the last government, the Moon Jae-in government, the level of social capital in Korea has increased, before the Park Geun-hye government. But after the current government is launched, the level of social capital in Korea has decreased again. Very problematic. Just think about the presidential policies. Just through the prosecutors' investigations of opposite party. Just the harmony and trust, and the integrity. We have lost. The integrity. Cooperation has decreased between between conservative and progressive parties, because the current government emphasizes suppressing the other parties through the prosecutors' investigation, and then that contribute to reducing social capital in Korea. Very problematic. And then this is the effect of social capital, just as you see. Netherlands, Denmark, Swiss, these countries have the high levels of social capital. But Mexico, Turkey, Poland, these countries have very low level of social capital. And then, as you see, just the social capital increase, the GDP also increase, right? Also, as social capital increase, life satisfaction has increased, and then the economists, proved that the social capitals contribute to the economic success, right? Just if we have high level of social capital, so we will have the reduced corruptions, and then it lead to increase GDP $138.5, right? Also, 1.645% increase by 0.65% in the GDP, and then so we need to make a great effort to improving social capital. But I'm very skeptical of the current government policy, and then just the economic success. I don't know. I'm very worried about economic situation in current economic situation in Korea, just because of current government policy. I don't know Japan and Spain. Just compared to current government, the current Korea, the Japan. In Japan, the levels of social capital is higher than in Korea, right? That's Japan need to make continuous effort to improve your level of social capital, right? Also in Spain, Manuela, Spain and Italy, the levels of social capital in southern European countries is lower than in the northern European countries such as Germany, Denmark, and Norway. They have very high levels of social capital because the social members, the peoples, are trustworthy and then cooperate with each other within a variety of social networks in the new governance. But southern European countries, you don't have highest level of social capital, and then pay attention to improving social capital in your country, in Manuela. Also, let's study the theory of the NGO. What is the NGO? Non-government organization, right? And then just a little bit confused about the distinguishing NGO from NPO. NGO, non-government organization, is however the NPO, non-profit organization, right? Therefore NGO focus on non-government, and then NPO focus on non-profit, and then NPO is a broader concept compared to NGO, right? Just NPO include religious organization, church, right? However, NPO does not include public hospital, because the hospital seek profit, making profit. NGO sometimes include the organization making money, right? Just the non-governmental hospital is NGO, but it is not NPO because it does not make profit. What is the characteristics of NGO? NGO is kind of try to seek the public interest, 공익. Also, NGO is based upon the voluntarism, right? Also, NGO should be politically neutral. Just NGO is affected by politics, that is not NGO anymore. Also, NGO pursuing notion, but just this is a little bit different. And then pursuing no profit, that means non-profit organization. Therefore, the NGO, NPO is characterized by this 4 element, right? And then as I also explained the NPO, the difference between NPO and NGO. NPO is encompass all non-profit organization or association, and then NPO is broader than NGO, right? And among NPOs, NGO include general organizations which do not have public purposes, right? NGO also characterized as service NGO, voice NGO. What is a service NGO? What is voice NGO? Service NGO means kind of focus on non-profit and provide some public services. Focus on delivering or producing public services to overcome market and government failures, right? Maybe this NGO is kind of a 사회복지 공동모금회. 사회복지 공동모금회, provide social welfare services, They collect money. People donate money for 사회복지 공동모금회. And then, after collecting the money, 사회복지 공동모금회 provide some kind of the welfare services to save the poor people. Provide some free meals for the homeless, right? Also, support some money for the poor people. Give some, the vouchers, give some food, or give some kind of medical services to the poor people. This is the service NGO. The voice NGO is kind of focused on the non-government and play an active roles in solving social problems by kind of expressing their opinions, right? To solve social problems anyway. Rather than provide some kind of particular services. The voice NGO does not provide any kind of the public and social services. Representatively, what kind of voice NGOs exist in the Korean society? I think everybody heard about the 참여연대, right? 경실련. These NGO are representative voice NGOs. They issue some some social issues. They issues the social problems, and they identify social problems and make some announcement to inform these social problems for the people, to announce these social problems to many people through kind of reporting, through by making some conference forums, by declaring the problems to the media, right? And then let's study the different types of NGO. We can categorize the different types of NGO according to the autonomy of finance and activities, right? There are 4 types of NGOs, according to the finance and activities. Okay, so in terms of financial autonomy, or in terms of activity autonomy, the financially autonomous, or in terms of activity it is autonomous, we call it the autonomous NGO, right? Just autonomous NGO is not supported by government financially. They did not receive any kind of subsidy from government. Also independently the autonomous the NGOs issue their own independent opinions. They can object to the government policies because they are independent from government. Also if NGO is supported by government, just inevitably NGO need to cooperate with the government policy. We call it the cooperative NGO. Also the financially very independent, but in terms of activity it is not independent, and we call it the transactional NGO. For example, what kind of transactional NGO exist? Maybe 정경련, and then 대한상공회의소. Maybe the enterprise private company association in English. Private company, Korean private company association, right? Yeah, this is the transactional NGO. They are financially independent, but just activities, in terms of activities, they are paying attention to the government policies because they cannot reject government policy. But just lastly, the weak, financially not independent. Also in terms of activity, it is not independent. We call it the subordinate. This is 관변단체, right? There are many 관변단체. The government supported NGO, 바르게 살기 운동연합, 새마을운동연합. This is the representative NGO, right? We don't need this kind of these types of NGO. We need more autonomous NGOs. In Korean society, what are the representative autonomous NGOs? As I said, just the voice NGO, such as 참여연대, right? And 경실련, right? Okay. Also, what is the NGO? What is the effect of the NGOs? The NGOs play the overcoming the government and the market failures, right? How can the NGOs, fix the overcome the government failures? In the principal agent problems, bureaucrats have the moral hazard. Try to seek the rent, economic benefit, and then NGO kind of closely monitor bureaucrats, right? Just in the media, so we can see the NGOs investigation, declarations, the bureaucrat corruptions, right? Also, this is the roles of the voice NGO, right? Also, on the behalf of the government, the NGOs can directly provide public services and goods in the collaborative governance, right? This is the service, the roles of service NGO, right? Also, the NGO can fix the market failures, right? Similarly, the NGOs monitor the monopolized company or unfair trade, right? Or the companies who the companies which cause externality, right? Yeah, pollution company, by monitoring pollution company. Sometimes the past the Gyeongsilyeon try to monitor the dirty water in the Nakdong River, and then they discovered the pollution company who emitted the phenol, very toxic pollutant. This company, I don't know, I forgot the name of this companies, the pollution company. This pollution company emitted a lot of toxic phenols, and then many people died in the river. But the Gyeongsilyeon found the pollution company. Also, the NGOs can reduce the transaction costs by announcing monopolize and the negative economic activities causing negative externality. Also, the in the case of service NGOs, it directly contributed to contributed to social equality by directly providing social services through redistribution. Also, the NGO sometimes can educate citizens, right, and then make citizens smart and intelligent. Think about the intelligence, the smart citizens. That means overcome the principal agent problems, because citizens are very effective in monitoring the government problems. Also, the NGOs can moderate conflict. Usually the international NGO, right? Okay, so therefore NGO play very important role in new governance, right? And because of these functions to overcome government and market failures, and then they actively participate in the new governance, right? Okay, lastly, the citizen is very important. The citizen participation is very important, right? In the new governance, the individual citizens can participate in the new governance through a variety of citizen participation programs. Citizen participation is governing process where citizens are directly involved in government decision making, right? And then citizens can participate in the all stages of policy, right? Policy decision making, policy agenda setting, policy implementation, right? Or sometimes a policy evaluation. Usually, citizen participation is kind of policy agenda and policy decision making, right? To make some policies, the government try to hear citizens' opinions and ideas, right? And then make more effective policies, because the policy is citizen friendly and enhance citizen satisfaction about the particular policy. Also, recently citizens can directly evaluate the quality of public policy, right? The citizen satisfaction to the particular policy is the outcome of policy, right? And citizens can directly participate in the variety of policy areas: budget, right, service delivery, or policy. Think about the less government. The citizens directly participate in the decision making in the nuclear power, right? To decide whether nuclear power is closed or not, citizens, directly involved in the decision-making process, make up the final decisions based upon the citizens' opinions. We call it the 공론조사, right? I think everybody know about the 공론조사. And then there are different types of citizen participation. Just so you know, fundamentally the official and unofficial participation. This is political participation, administrative participation. This is official. This is official participation, but just except for official participation, there is unofficial participation and demonstration, right? But unofficial participation, such as demonstration happens in case that official participation is blocked by government, right? Inevitably, people should participate in the demonstration to announce their opinions, voice, because there is no official programs, mechanisms where they announce their opinions. So, the most fundamental participation is voting, election, right? This is political participation. This is the fundamental participation. However, recently in the new governance, rather than the political participation, so in the variety of administrative and policy decision making, policy processes, citizens can participate in the decision making. And then there are three types of administrative participation. Simply the 1A participation. This means, I think this is not actual participation. Just the unilaterally government provide some information to the citizens, right, through the newsletter, public notice, public announcement. Just kind of hear about the government notice, without interacting together between the citizens and the government. And then the most frequent general participation mechanism is 2-way communication, consultative participation by through citizen committee, citizen survey, public hearing forums, and SNS in the online. Citizens and government kind of engaged in discussing, making some communications to make better policy. Also to hear about the citizens' opinions. In the 2-way communications, government and citizens are effectively engaged in making good policies. And then the last and the most developed participation is kind of a delegatory participation. In this case, citizens make their own policy decision directly, right? Citizen juries, citizen juries means in the judicial system, citizens make some verdict. Also initiative, referendum and recall. This means 주민 발안, 주민 소환, 주민 투표. Directly, citizens make some decisions. Initiative, directly citizens make some law, 조례, in local government. Also recall, citizens recall the local politician directly. This is the directive way that citizens make decision in the policy process or political process or judicial process, right? And what is the effect of citizen participation, right? And then just citizen participation fix representative democracy. What is the limitation of representative democracy? Adverse election, and then moral hazard because of principal agent problems. However, by directly engaging in decision-making process in government, the government, the citizen participation can fix the principal and agent problems, right? By monitoring the corrupted politician agent, citizens, can directly influence the policy decision. Also, citizen participation can enhance administrative responses. Also, citizens, citizen participations, can ensure citizen support and compliances. 수능 in policy implementation. If you are involved in policy decision making, you are more supportive. The policy you directly decided. Also, by being engaged in the policy decision making, that kind of policy is more transparent, and then it contributes the bureaucratic moral hazard and corruption and rent seeking, right? Also, the citizens can propose very good ideas, to make good outcomes, policy outcomes. It's very effective, and then the government can accept the citizens' innovative and effective ideas, right? Also, the if citizens are engaged in policy decision-making process through the citizen participation programs, their political efficacy, political pride is enhanced, and then try to issue more active political issues, and then it contributed to what kind of IR? Irrational ignorance, right? Just in many cases, the general citizens are not interested in the policy decision making, even though that kind of policies impact their lives because of the irrational ignorances. But if you are engaged in policy decision making process through citizen participation programs, your political efficacy is enhanced, and then just whenever whenever you are interested in the particular policies, you are directly try to issue your voices, and then lead to overcoming the irrational ignorances, right? But what are the limitations? Lack of representation, lack of professional knowledge, increased administrative costs. This is the failures of network, and then just next class, we are going to study the failures of network, and then the failures of networks include the limitation of citizen participations. We will study the next class about the limitation of citizen participation as the failures of network, right? Okay, let's introduce the variety of citizen participation programs in Korea. Unhappily, the current government, don't like citizen participation programs. I don't know. But just the current government is conservative, and then usually the conservative government don't want to open their decision making process, don't want to share decision making process, and then sometimes it causes some kind of problems. But in the prior government, there were a lot of variety of citizen participation programs. as I explained a little bit, just in the prior government national petition 국민청원, it was very famous, but in the current government it was eliminated. Also the last government, the Minister of Strategy and Finance adopted the national participatory budgeting 국민 참여 예산. You can click this the link address, homepage address, and then you can see the content of the national participatory budgeting. But as I said, just I designed the national participatory budgeting in 2017, and then I won the presidential award, right? Because I contributed to creating the national participatory budgeting, but happily it was not eliminated. And then just when I designed the national participatory budgeting, I was worried that if the regime change, this kind of citizen participation programs may be eliminated. I am worried about the problem, and then just I try not to make the citizen participation program popular. If the program is popular, after regime change, it may be eliminated. That just I emphasize that just the system should be not popular to make it more sustainable. And then luckily it survived. Also the Seoul City is operating the citizen participation program, right? But under the Oseun metropolitan mayors, many citizen participation program in Seoul cities have been reduced and eliminated, right? Now you can see the citizen participation programs operating in Seoul cities, through this website address. Okay, also the example of new public governance, PPP, public-private partnerships. There are many examples of public-private partnerships, right? The NGO, government, and the private companies, can make joint ventures, joint companies. Also, the NGO and government make some public services to save the homeless, right? This is example of public-private partnership. There are so many examples of the public-private partnerships. Just that tomorrow, maybe next week, or this coming Wednesdays, I'm going to introduce a variety of the example of public-private partnership, right? And then this is the types of the PPP outsourcing, but this is controversial, right? This outsourcing is kind of result of new public management, not new governance. Anyway, because public services is contracted to private sectors, in the broad terms, broadly, it can be included as the example of the new public governance. But the outsourcing is example of new public management rather than new public governance. Also, the public-private joint ventures, private company and government, can make some kind of company, public company together, right? To construct bridges, roads, and subways, right? To build public infrastructure. Also, co-production. Usually co-production is kind of the production of government, non-profit organization, and citizens, right? And then citizens can produce public services together, citizen bike patrol police, citizens, with police is patrol the street, right? And then make co-production. Also, economic development partnerships between government and Hyundai 자동차. I don't know. I forgot the name of the cars. I forgot it. But in Gwangju, just so you know, the joint venture was a joint company was created between government and Hyundai 자동차 and developed a new brand of car, but I forgot it. Anyway, it was so famous, and then this is an example of PPP, public-private partnership between government and private company. Okay, so example, the lack of time, just I will explain the example of PPP and new public governance. In the offline class tomorrow on this coming Wednesday. So I will introduce the example of actual PPP, actual new public governance, and will explain the failures. Also, I will also explain the failures of the networks. Okay, let's finish. The online class. Even though it is weekend, so I'm very thankful to focus on the lecture. And then please, please watch the recorded class, and then tomorrow. So we're gonna study the example of network, new public governance, and then. As I said, just network also may be problematic and may fail to achieve its original goals, and then we're gonna study the network failures tomorrow. And then Tomomi and Sayaka will create the discussion questions, and then this coming Wednesday, so we're gonna discuss the questions created by the Japanese students. Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend and see you in the class. Okay, next week. Bye bye.